I'm Judy Stiles. Thank you for joining us this week on Newsmakers. Well, the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce is an organization that's busy year-round, and today we're going to focus on what's happening locally as well as regionally. Joining me, we have the Chamber President, Toby Teeter, and the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, I guess the Regional Coordinator, I forget the exact title, was Mokan Partnership, Tony Robyn. Thank you for being here today.
My pleasure, thanks.
Thank you.
Toby, it's been about a year since we visited, so I'm going to start with you. Kind of people ask you, how are things going with the Chamber? How do you give them kind of a general answer for that?
So really the Chamber, we've pivoted towards livability and talent attraction, and that's really a reflection of our business community. When we asked, what's your biggest prohibitor of growth, over and over again we heard our ability to attract and maintain talent. The big changes moving forward is focus on livability and taking our younger workforce, those in their 20s and 30s, and ask them to build the city they want to live in. And that they've self-organized into work groups. So we're now focused on diversity and inclusion, trails of connectivity, health and wellness, and also cultural enterprise recruitment, attracting businesses to our community that add to livability.
Okay, so that's the kind of the definition of livability, those different elements and tying together, working. So you have people who are volunteering to help guide the future, look at the ideas for you.
Yes, so much more about the Chamber is just the community themselves identifying what they want to do to add to our livability, quality of life, and in organizing those assets. We also reorganized our entrepreneurial efforts. We reformatted our Joe Newman Innovation Center. We literally put new paint on the wall and made it look like a tech incubator. And we're starting to graduate our tenants and move in new startups and starting to service them and move beyond subsidized landlording. Mentorships, programs, meetups, and those sorts of things.
So implementing some new approaches and how you're approaching the future for the Chamber and the community.
That's correct.
That together. And Tony, you're with an organization, the Mokan Partnership. So people ask you, what is this organization? How do you answer that?
Well, it's an economic development collaborative that works in the tri-state area, southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, and southwest Missouri. I primarily, don't focus on Joplin proper. That's one of the components, but I reach across state lines working with cities, counties, other jurisdictions, business, corporations, industrial developments. We do a lot of site development, site inspections. We try to connect resources to some of those partners to advance business development.
So it sounds like that emphasis of regional, talking about the Joplin Area Chamber of Commerce, is kind of as a natural tie working with those organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. We really are a region. This area he speaks of, we're talking about 4 counties on the Missouri side, 2 in Kansas and Ottawa County in Oklahoma. And really, when you're talking about living, working, and playing, our economies are really tied. And that's what we've seen 20 years ago when the organization was formed.
So this organization is not new, it's just you're in the position now to help really guide and do some more things with this.
Correct, and we want to really expand it into a regional organization proper, and everything from research to identifying business incentives to both attract business and industry to the region as well as expandability. So looking to some of those partners, both public and private, what resources can you bring to the table that would keep an industry here or to relocate an industry to this area?
Do you find that a lot of the people who are involved in the organizations, they appreciate that communication and that you're not isolated in your little town even though you're not the big city down the street?
Yeah, most people recognize that it's a regional collaborative approach now. It's not just, we're in Joplin trying to expand Joplin, understanding that we are regional and that whatever happens in Ottawa County affects Joplin, whatever happens in Joplin affects Galena, Kansas, and we do that together and try to identify those opportunities together.
Great. Now, Toby, I know that you work with the Joplin area, the City Council, for instance. I know you're getting ready as we're recording this program to make a presentation to them, and I guess you kind of give regular updates to them. What's happening? Because they have a vested interest in what's happening at the Chamber.
That's right. So the City of Joplin actually outsources economic development to the Chamber. So through the President, I work basically on behalf of the city to grow the city. So once a quarter I go to the City Council. We talk about benchmarking, we talk about unemployment rates, population growth, what industries are advancing or growing, and we also talk about business attraction pipeline. Any given day there's a number of businesses who are working on recruiting into the city limits of Joplin. And we're also talking about, again, livability and talent attraction. And more of our economy, as we pivoting from manufacturing to knowledge-based workforce, more and more is about attracting brains to our community. We see that through efforts like Kansas City University coming to our market, first the medical school and now the dental school. So more and more of our efforts have to do with attracting a dean to run that program, and then help him or her hire down the next 20 employees to begin the beginnings of the dental school.
You mentioned statistics. People might be curious, well, how does Joplin compare to maybe other parts of the state or the region? We talk about unemployment and some of those demographics, those trends that we have.
So we're at sub 3% unemployment. The last data we have is from October 2019. Locally, we have what's called full employment. We actually have more job openings than those seeking jobs. Again, the needs have really pivoted in recent years, and what we really need to do is we need to grow our workforce, redevelop our workforce to meet the needs of our employers.
And we've heard a lot about workforce development. The governor's talked about it. We have a place downtown where people are being trained. Are you finding these efforts are making some inroads?
Yeah, absolutely. So the big change on the Missouri side is the Department of Economic Development is working more and more at the community college level. So more and more the role of the community college is to be more responsive and adapt and quickly align with economic development efforts. So when there is a new company, for instance, coming to a region in the state of Missouri, the junior colleges are aligning and developing training programs in real time to incubate talent right into that employer.
Okay, so fit the needs that they see coming with that company coming to town. On a regional standpoint, you also hear a lot of people talking about, we have these businesses, but we need employees to help work for us, or if we want to bring a company in, we need this type of skill. Yeah,
so when you talk about the Department of Economic Development on the Missouri side, each state has their own different departments. Some of the rules and regulations and guidelines may differ a little bit, but at the end of the day, it's all about economic development. So part of my role is again to reach across state lines and identify what those opportunities are at the different state levels and marry those resource opportunities with a business or a commercial development. And part of that is workforce development.
So sometimes it's just awareness. Did you know this program exists, or these funds might be out there to help you reach these goals?
That's exactly right.
Tying all of that together. And you're talking about economic development and trying to bring companies in, also trying to support the current companies that we have in the community as well. That part of the puzzle. Yeah,
so besides talent and business attraction, we call it retention and growth, servicing the existing businesses, visiting with existing businesses, better understand what's their biggest prohibitor of growth, finding ways we can rally as a community around that business, understanding their needs, and then at times when the economy changes and we go in a different direction, retention becomes a big piece of the puzzle. The ability to actually just keep what we have here becomes important.
As the economy changes and people in other communities are looking for that type of talent, you want to keep them from saying, I'm going to go down the road to another place.
That's true, absolutely.
So forth. And when you're looking at retention of jobs, attracting that talent, regionally, of course, we're at the university as well. How does the university play a role in these type of operations?
Well, Missouri Southern, for instance, is their biggest producer of college-educated talent for our whole region. So not to mention just the economic footprint of this university as far as employees, the athletic programs and what that does with the hotels. It's a big piece of our economy here. In fact, I think it's really underplayed how substantial when Missouri Southern is thriving, Joplin thrives. So we see that more and more and understand that better than ever. But more and more, Joplin is identifying as a college town. We have a Bible College, we have Missouri Southern State University, Crowder, and then now Kansas City University, both the medical school and dental school. And so we have people from all over the world coming here to learn and get an education.
Regionally, you have that emphasis of Missouri Southern also is a key part of the picture as far as, depending on where the state line is, they still can come here and obviously go to school.
Absolutely, and we also, we talk about our regional nature. It's not just Joplin proper, and we go all the way up to Lamar, working with those communities and different opportunities, as well as Neosho and Crowder College and NEO in Oklahoma, et cetera.
Talk about changing economy, and of course we've talked in the past about how it used to be manufacturing based so nationally, and now how that's changing now. You talk about people with their minds or entrepreneurs and so forth. Is that a constant battle of, you know, maybe the manufacturing sector is not the big kingpin that it was nationally or even regionally?
Well, our biggest business sectors locally is food processing, distribution, trucking, and advanced manufacturing, and retail. But most of those business clusters are becoming more and more automated. So we need to diversify away from manufacturing. We need to keep being good at what we're good at. At the same time, we need to tack on and be better in the knowledge-based economy. We're in the 21st century now. And more and more of the geography of jobs is about collecting brains. The winners and losers between towns is those that can speak to and bring innovation and technology. And now we have a situation where more and more of the workforce is working remote.
Right.
So now you have people in their 20s and 30s choosing where they want to live, and then be able to work remotely for any organization across the world, really. And so there's a play there for Joplin. We're 20% below the national average as far as cost of living, and we should be able to talk about Joplin in a different way as a place to live, work and play, raise a family, and live larger from Joplin, and meanwhile working remote for tech companies or any kind of company from anywhere in the world.
So the quote younger jobs that are coming along, you don't go to a town in the traditional way saying I'm going to work for a company XYZ and work in this plant forever. You know, they're looking for new opportunities. Yeah,
absolutely, and we're starting to understand that better and identify different assets we have in our community. We're trying to develop more workspace that's collaborative, co-working environments. Right. Where not only is it perfect for a startup, but also we're seeing more and more remote workers working from our local coffee shops. In fact, you can go to any of our coffee shops right now and you'll find people actually working on projects that are international in scope, and they're doing it from the corner of the coffee shop.
They have their laptop and they're working on their project and so forth. Same thing regionally, you're finding that you don't have to go to that other community to go to work.
Absolutely, and a good example is the business center down in Neosho. It's the same dynamic. Acts like a coffee shop where you have those different incentives to be in there. You've got Wi-Fi access, you got access to refreshments, you got meeting rooms where you can have a little side meeting with potential clients, and that's happening across the region. It's not just happening in our little community here.
Now you talk about bringing people to town, and kind of that ties into the image, or what does Joplin mean to people outside? With those of us who live here or in this region, we think of Joplin, but how do you sell Joplin's image or its view from the outside?
Sure. More and more, there's a Vision 2022 group of citizens, and one of the things they've identified is the need for Joplin to develop a brand. What makes Joplin special, right. and then how to use 21st century marketing to speak to that. And really, what's kind of starting to line up is what makes us different is the people. We've gone through a common experience with a tornado, and there's a certain patina to our people, and we're real, and there's grit here. And so we're really starting to play that up in the branding. We're actually building a portal that'll launch in March. It's called ChooseJoplin.com. Yeah, okay. And its focus is both business and talent attraction. It's to tell that story. And what we've really found is that we're a diverse community of doers and dreamers who belong, united by the passion of living our purpose. And here you have the freedom of living a purpose. And again, that's a hat tip to our cost of living.
Right, so that's one of the attractions, is that you can afford to live here and still reach those goals, bringing people in.
Absolutely. So we're building this portal to tell that story, ChooseJoplin.com. You might have already seen the hashtag out there. And we're also working with our largest employers, including the university here, about how we can strategically get that messaging to those that are aspiring to join us. So when people are living outside of Joplin or looking at moving here, and they're looking at job opportunities, or actually they're looking at MLS real estate listings, right. We can actually pick up on those and start telling and messaging the story on their social media and on YouTube.
So through that social media, the different ways that didn't exist in the past, you're able to reach people in new ways and working things together. You mentioned the Vision 2022, and that's something people have heard about for a little bit. I understand there's also update plan for that, is how they're doing, because we're only a couple of years away from 22.
Right. So the community spent years developing a plan, a kind of a long-term plan, and they called it Joplin Vision 2022. And it hit on different aspects, including arts and culture, health and wellness, economic development, and the Joplin brand is a piece of that puzzle. And it's a community-led effort from the bottom up, kind of identifying projects and priorities. And that process started a few years ago. So tonight is actually an opportunity, it's a halfway point where we're kind of auditing where we stand on all the projects that were proposed. Quite a few of the projects have been identified and have been successful to date. There's a few other pieces that haven't been finished yet. One example is some sort of multi-purpose venue, whether that be for athletics or events. This market can definitely support a venue of some size, and that's yet to manifest. So we're working on kind of making that happen.
What steps do you need to take to reach that goal?
Yeah, and there's a few health-related goals still having to do that they've identified, having to do with smoke-free Joplin, which is now just recently become a national priority, and also a couple other health-related. We're behind other communities having to do with our health benchmarks.
Right.
So we've identified that as an issue, and we're trying to align both public and private investments towards those efforts.
We hear a lot about regional health collaborative as well, trying to work for healthier citizens and deal with some of those challenges that we have and tying that together. Tony, when you look at the regional aspect of working, people might be curious, the organization, how is it structured? Are you housed in Joplin, or obviously you have a home base somewhere?
Well, we live in Joplin, me and my family, of course. But we are housed at the Joplin Chamber. They afford us some space, some technical administrative support, but we also have two regional staff, one focused on the ground in southeast Kansas, northeast Oklahoma, working with those different communities on business development, as well as another staffer in the Joplin region proper. And between the three of us, we collaborate across the tri-state area. And one thing we talk about resources, we've got the MokanPartnership.com website, which is available for site selectors, realtors, business and industry leaders, where it's a one-stop shop. You can go and identify a commercial building or an industrial site. I need 20 acres to do XYZ industry, and get into that database and that information. It offers everything you can think of, from demographic data about the region, or drill down to a specific community or even area within the community, and to determine, is this a good place to build my business, expand my business? What are the incentives that any one of the different states offers to my business? And that's our role as the regional staff, is to help make those connections with those leaders to those resources.
So that website serves as kind of the gate to the community. People can see what you have, throughout, and we have some of that on the screen right now for people to see. Is that step one? Do you find in many businesses they just maybe go online? What do they have in this area?
Yeah, a lot of states, including the state of Missouri, has a business development component. There's an organization called the Missouri Partnership. It's a public-private a partnership having to do with attracting businesses to the state of Missouri. That team goes around the world and tries to identify opportunities for existing businesses to relocate to the state. Once they've identified a prospect, they'll reach out to the regional pieces, including Mokan, where it gives Tony an opportunity to take sites that are ready for that opportunity and actually propose it, actually build out an RFI and pitch one or more sites from our region.
So you have that data all ready to go when somebody calls, basically, in layman's terms.
Yeah, and one of those things, a business organization is looking for a certified shovel-ready site. They want to know that it's got the infrastructure, it's already got all the environmental work that's potentially been done, it's got streets, sanitary sewer, water, power. So we work with those collaborative entities in all the states to certify those sites. For example, Crossroads Industrial Park in Joplin right now, we're going through a certification process with the state of Missouri and the Missouri Partnership to qualify that, so that an industrial partner or a site selector can see that site and see that, yes, it has all the amenities already. Those are all costs that don't have to be developed in the front end of a project that already exists, so they can just move in to that site. Another is Wildwood Industrial and Commercial Park here in the Joplin area, that we're working with the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad to certify that site as rail ready. So what does that mean? Is the gauge of the railroad proper? Can it handle how many cars a day? all those different components that we can share up front, that this site is certified already by, in that case, the railroad or the Department of Economic Development for the state of Missouri.
Okay. Well, for John Q. Public, someone who's watching, and they're not real familiar with economic development, but they every once in a while they hear these announcements of a new company coming to town. They may say, well, what's the chamber doing for me? How do you talk to John Q. Public, somebody who's not in the business world of dealing with
Sure. You might have heard now that Casey's General Store is opening a distribution center that's going to service the entire Midwest, or the lower Midwest, from Joplin, Missouri. That's an example where that company, it was a one-year process where we went through the entire step-by-step. We presented sites. We worked with the utility companies to get it more site-ready for this opportunity. We built an incentive package. Both the city of Joplin and the state of Missouri were involved in recruiting Casey's to Joplin. And then it went through another few months with members of that company about getting everything ready to go, break ground, which is going to happen April 1st. The governor's going to come down, and the CEO of the company will be in Joplin, and that's going to be a really big deal. It's 151 jobs, average wage over $50,000, and there is economic impact studies that actually show what that means to our community, as far as our retailers, our health industry. Every segment of our economy is impacted when high-paying jobs come to our market. And so that's an example where the chamber, essentially a collaboration of small businesses working together to bolt on and add to our economy. And in this instance, it brought a distribution center to our market.
Right. And there's a lot of that going on behind the scenes, obviously, that people don't know about.
Absolutely.
You say, 1 year in the making for that. I'm sure there's a lot of long-range discussions with people before things finally come to fruition. You're looking, hey, we've accomplished this.
Oftentimes it takes years before you see that media report or the public announcement for something like that to come to the community.
Working together. And then for helping the people who are starting their own business, the entrepreneur, the one who has an idea but they want to make it work, you have many resources in the community for them as well. They're not opening a big plant or a big warehouse, but they have this idea, they want to make it work.
Yeah, that's been a big emphasis for the chamber. We just received a $111,000 grant from the state of Missouri. It's called a MOBET grant. It's to fund our entrepreneurial ecosystem. So the components of that is we're ramping up with this funding a dedicated staff member that will serve local small startups. So we are gathering information about co-working environments and business incubators across the region, so we can actually market those and help them bring in startups. We're working on a mentorship program for entrepreneurs. We're launching 1 Million Cups on March 4th, which is a weekly showcase for entrepreneurs. Essentially, it's called Entrepreneurship Caffeinated, where two speakers at 9 a.m. every Wednesday will come in and share their story, and entrepreneurs can encourage other entrepreneurs.
So really learning from their mentors or the peers and how to succeed.
Absolutely. We're also working on launching both collegiate and high school pitch competitions, and that will funnel into a final competition at a Tech Summit. Hopefully it'll be on Missouri Southern's campus, so we're working with the university on that project. We're also wanting to do a startup weekend. It's like a boot camp for startups, someone that's kind of on the fence about starting a new business. Right. It's an opportunity to take it from idea and flesh it out all over the course of 48 hours. Wow. So those are the kind of opportunities coming up on the horizon in 2020 to kind of jumpstart Joplin's entrepreneurial ecosystem.
So people with those ideas, make them become a reality, help them make it become a reality and so forth. So looking ahead, any specific goals that either of you have in each of your areas? What would you like to be able to visit next fall, as far as what are we accomplishing with the Mokan Partnership?
Well, given it's quite a process, we'd like to nail down the site certification for the Crossroads Industrial Park, certainly the rail certification for Wildwood. But to expand, more regionally, again, we're not just about the Joplin region, we're about the tri-state area, and identifying those community leaderships across those communities and areas to collaborate with. We want to do some type of an inventory of all the site opportunities that we have, both commercial and industrial across the region as well, so that when we get that phone call, we can look right on there and say, yes, we've got 100 acres right here, let's go talk about it. So building out that database and that information infrastructure going forward is going to be critical.
So really gathering a lot of information and learning what's out there.
Yeah.
How about for the chamber? The follow-up or goals?
Yeah, a lot of it has to do with online marketing of what we have. Besides the new Joplin Chamber website and the Choose Joplin website, we're going to be launching an online property having to do with business news. It's basically our monthly outlook. We're going to move that to an online publication. And also we're working on, for instance, as Tony's talking about, the Joplin Crossroads Industrial Park. We have a 600-acre premier industrial park that services the whole United States, an intersection of I-44 and 49, and we haven't done very good at telling that story. So we're developing a website for the industrial park. We're actually standing up signage facing I-44 and 49, and so we're getting better at recruiting businesses to our park.
So really creating that awareness nationwide or worldwide that
Right.
we have these things to offer.
That's correct.
Together. It's part of anything that you enjoyed the most working with the chamber? Anything that you've had a year now to kind of look at? You've been working a year now. What have you enjoyed the most working as the president?
I really enjoy business owners. It's amazing to hear the stories. I love finding all the secret projects that are happening in Joplin. There's so much. There's so many really interesting entrepreneurs doing really, really neat things kind of behind the curtain. And I think more and more we need to get them out on the stage and share their story. It's really exciting times in Joplin, and things are really starting to come together as far as building a culture and a community around entrepreneurship, technology, and innovation. So those are the components I'm really excited about.
Great. So a lot of things to look forward to in the future and tying everything together. I'd like to thank both of you for visiting with me today, providing some information for our audience who's watching. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank you, the viewers, for joining us this week on Newsmakers. I'm Judy Stiles. Hope you can join me again next week at the same time on the station. We'll see you then.